Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Billy Musio and Bradley Stalder here for the Fantasy Football Fanalist. Tonight's a really lax night. We have no Sunday football this week. Super Bowl's next week, 2/7/21. So tonight, Bradley and I are just going to do an impromptu podcast. No notes, no stats, just two guys drinking beer or wine. And we're talking football this week. Bradley, anything new and exciting going on in the Stalder house?
You know, Billy, it's the end of January in Michigan. So it's freezing cold here. It was like 12 degrees. Ice is everywhere. I haven't been able to run outside. Yeah, my wife had an off day today, so she got to hang out with the girls all day. It's been the end of the semester for me and start of semesters for my classes. Hence why I haven't been pushing as much content, although it feels like everything's been fuller lately. You know, I like the off season, I feel like fills up and then we build back up into fantasy football season as the summer goes on. And so, yeah, I think it's all of the household things. It's making sure that my jerseys are still at the ready. So I pulled out my Brett Favre jersey for our audience members, number 4, Brett Favre. And the news out of Green Bay is that the GM for the Packers is like, nope, we're going to keep Aaron Rodgers. Sounds good to me. He's the MVP. There's no reason to get rid of him. Look, losses are tough. But he's the MVP. He's signed for a good contract. It makes sense. I know Jordan Love's there, but he's not ready. That's even at the end of the season. Jordan Love, he's not close. And like that has to be the biggest regret of the Packers draft. They trade a first and a third to get Jordan Love.
Yeah, maybe why instead of maybe try to appease the guy. Maybe get him some weapons, right? Maybe get him some wide receivers. Maybe help him on the offensive side of the ball, so that way he's not so unhappy here and he wants to play and he's not looking over his shoulder because you drafted a bad quarterback at the end of round 1 and to sit here and learn from him. So we've talked about this draft all year long and how bad it was. And it's funny seeing all these things surface as they lost in the championship game for the second year in a row. And most of the comments here are, do you think the wide receiver they would have drafted in the first round would have dropped that 2-point conversion? I don't.
Equanimous St. Brown. Why is he being targeted in a championship conference game? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that ball was slightly tipped, but it should have been caught. It really should have.
Yeah, as a Notre Dame, because Equanimous St. Brown, Notre Dame product, it brings, I am also a Notre Dame product for those who don't know. Went to the University of Notre Dame, graduated in 2015. But yeah, it just it hurts my soul when, a Notre Dame guy can't come through for my Packers. But it really does show the holes that were not filled in this year's draft, seeing the Brandon Ayuks of the world, the Justin Jefferson of the world. Even I mentioned earlier this week, imagine Darnell Mooney on the Packers. He's going to be a quality receiver for the Bears when Allen Robinson, he was a quality rookie. So I think the Packers really have to focus on their defense and addressing the wide receiver core, getting them a complimentary number 2. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is 2 boom bust. Robert Tonyan is a good tight end, but he shouldn't be the number 2 pass option in that offense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, talking about Mooney, imagine the year he would have had they hit him on a few of those deep passes. And we're talking, potential, earlier candidate next year with the potential of Allen Robinson leaving here as well. I mean, we'd probably be drafting him where everyone was drafting Anthony Miller here this year. And because, he's probably going to be hyped up even more, I think, this offseason, especially if Allen Robinson leaves via free agency this year, and which is looking likely to happen now. And so I think it's going to be interesting to watch. Mooney is one of my favorite targets in this offseason. There was a Twitter post out there and it said, who's one of your favorite just throw the player in deals? And that's who every time I'm making a deal right now this offseason, that's who I'm asking if they have him on the roster. Oh, just throw him in. right? I don't need a later round pick. Just throw in Mooney and let's call it a deal. And 7 out of 10 times it's been getting done. People just throw him in because they don't really have any expectations for him. They don't really know the contract situations here heading into 2021. They're not really positive about the Allen Robinson landscape here and what's going to happen during his free agency. So I think a big part of your fantasy football dynasty play here is observing contracts. It's one of the most overlooked features in dynasty, making sure that you're aware of a player's contracts, aware of their free agencies and how much money they're getting paid. Are they a cut candidate? There's so many different factors that you can analyze inside a contract that's going to really help the outlook of a player in dynasty.
Well, speaking of contracts, did you see the Ben Roethlisberger comments recently? Where he was, so he has a $41 million cap hit, and he said he'd be willing to negotiate significantly just to play again this year, so the Steelers don't have to like cut him or whatever. I think that's there was a lot of speculation, right, with that huge contract that they would be forced to cut him given the cap scenario, or look elsewhere. I mean, they signed Dwayne Haskins. They've got draft capital. Ben didn't look good this year, especially at the end of the year. So,
and I think that's part of the reason why he was able to negotiate that contract down, or should say, be willing to restructure. Was he's looking over his shoulder now? Right? There's a recent number one or recent round one quarterback draft pick here now behind him. And yes, he's had some trouble, and he's not the smartest kid right now in the NFL and making a bunch of dumb decisions, but nonetheless, the kid was talented in college. And if he can get his head on straight, he could have a bright future, especially in this offense. So, and we talked about this last time, is Ben Roethlisberger would have to restructure his contract, or otherwise they have to cut him because they're already $28 million over his cap space.
I mean, do you think that Roethlisberger is going to pull an Aaron Rodgers? You've got a former first round pick sitting in the wings, level up.
No, it's completely different talents here. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is arguably one of the best quarterbacks from a pure talent standpoint that I've ever seen. And Ben Roethlisberger's over here, choking the chicken on the road games, and that's why he's tendonitis in his elbow. So I completely different in terms of talent. And I just think Aaron Rodgers is not even in the same building, let alone universe as Ben Roethlisberger when it comes to talent.
See, that was an alley-oop. That was a gimme. As the Packers fan here, just keep lauding praise on the future MVP, hopefully named, this coming week, Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah. So enough fantasy football talk for just a second. Billy, there's been some crazy stuff happening in the stock market. Like,
there really has. I mean,
we have to address or talk about like the craziness that is happening with GameStop here.
GameStop, AMC, Nokia for a little bit. I mean, we're talking about so much craziness in the world right now. And
throwback to like 2004, right?
Yeah, it's been madness. So as of like the last 2 years, I really started trading stocks, and I'm not by all means an expert in any manner. I have a financial advisor who does that for me. So I have like my play account that I play with X dollar amounts. And then my most like 90% of my retirement money and my stock money goes to my financial advisor. And then he manages my serious retirement. Right. And then I sit here and play around with funds, and it helps me learn. It helps me be able to talk to my advisor a little bit more and understand what he's talking about more, because my spare time, I'm reading about stocks, I'm reading about overs and shorts and so forth. So, man, though, this market was nuts. So catch me here. Monday morning or afternoon, whatever time it was, AMC announced that they secured financing. And AMC has been on my watch list here for about a month because they're one of the largest movie theater entertainment centers in the world. And they were trading as low as $2 a share when, 3 years ago, they were trading $30 a share. So for me, it was rebound potential. And I know that that whole industry has just been hammered. And when I saw the fact that they had secured financing, and, rough quote here is they were going to be able to make it through 2021 with this financing at the hopes that COVID was finishing and into 2020 and into 2022. So that to me says, hey, worth the gamble here at $2 a share. So I was waiting, still wasn't fully like ready to commit. And, later in the day, I finally pulled the trigger. I think I got in, a little bit, closer to the 7 range. And then it took off in the after hours on Tuesday. And all of a sudden I noticed that all the Redditors were following over to AMC. And I'm like, oh crap, I just invested in a stock I did not want to go on a roller coaster with. And it went up like 67% in the after hours. And then when I saw all that happen, I said, you know what, I have to add a little bit more here. Cause if this is going to go up anything similar to GME, GameStop, I have to at least be able to make some money on this. And so I ended up averaging at like 7.51 was my average. And let's just put it this way. I only slept 4 hours the previous 2 days because I was watching the stock market from pre-market to close, aftermarket. I'd go home and eat dinner, get the kids down. And then at 11 p.m., the Frankfurt market opens, which is in Germany, and AMC trades in the Frankfurt market. So from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., I'd watch the Frankfurt market to see how AMC was doing. Cause like I said, I did not sign up for this roller coaster. I signed up thinking, hey, this is a long-term investment and I might get, double my money in 5 years, 3 years. And so here I am. Frankfurt market took off. Like it was up like 120 something percent in the first like 10 minutes in the Frankfurt market. And I was like, holy cow, like I'm going to be rich. And then all of a sudden our market opened up and or I should say futures opened up. And at 1 a.m. when futures opened up, it was at like $16. So already 2X plus some. And then next thing you know, pre-market opened up and the pre-market hit $25 before the market even opens. A pre-market here, and pre-market for those who are not familiar is 4 a.m. West Coast time to 6:30 a.m. West Coast time, and then that's when the actual market opens up. So you can trade, but when you trade, you have to set limit orders. So you can't set market value. You have to pick a price that you're willing to buy, pick a price you're willing to sell, and buy or sell at that price. And so there's a lot of risk involved because prices are fluctuating crazily, and so like I said, it started off at 16, it hit 25 at one point, and by the time I ended up falling asleep from I think it was from 4 to 6:30, like 4:30 to 6:30. So I fell asleep like 2 hours. I woke up for the real market. And then here it was just a madhouse. It from 1 a.m. to 1:03 a.m., it did 1.2 million in volume. In 3 minutes, 1.2 million volume. Its 10-day average was 10 million. It did a tenth of its average in 3 minutes. It was so crazy. So long story short,
10 days worth of work in 30 minutes.
Yes. Over. No, it was over. In 30 minutes, it was already at 20 million. It was double in 30 minutes in pre-market. It wasn't even market. And so I'm just sitting here. I'm like, holy crap. Like I accidentally walked into a roller coaster and I'm along for this ride, whether I want to or I don't want to. And so next day it was all over the place. Like it was literally, 25, 21, 12, 16, 18, 20. It was like, and I'm just sitting here, having heart attacks, watching my money go up and down by the thousands every minute. And so, and I was glued to it. Like I literally didn't work for 2 days. I was watching the stock market. I was literally watching, just had it on my screen, automatic refresh. So I can literally see the volume change, the cents change every second. And so I held it overnight.
Wait. What you're telling me is that you didn't sleep because of the market. When you didn't join me for the live stream a couple days ago and you said, oh, it's because I'm working the market. I thought it was grocery outlet bargain market.
Oh, no. I was
like, wow, Billy is very dedicated. He's staying up so late at the market and he is just putting in so much effort.
No.
What a dedicated employee. This guy is running his business so well. He is up till the wee hours of the morning. Like, what am I doing?
I was definitely there at the store, but I came home to finish watching the market. So from 5, I left the store at 5:01 because that's when the after hours trading market ends. So I was like, cool, I get to go home and have dinner, see my family, see the kids, get them down, and boom, I go back to work. And so long story short, I don't, bite off too much of your ear here, just talking about the market. I didn't sell as the market closed, which is in the beginning starting to look like a really stupid decision. And I was gambling here because I was hoping that it was going to continue to climb and climb and climb. Well, I watched the Asian market and I watched it kind of fold. It was down like 1 to 2% in most of the Asian markets. Then I watched Germany kind of fold. Then I watched pretty much, Brazil fold. Every market essentially was down that day, or that night into the next day, I should say. It was still daytime to me because I was awake. And so I'm watching this, every market fold, and I started thinking to myself, there's no way they're going to allow this to keep happening. The world, the powers that be, the billionaire hedge funds that are down money, there's no way. The deep state. There's no way that they're going to allow this to keep happening. I'm not sleeping tonight. Told my wife, sorry, I'm going to be sleeping down in my office, which is right here. Boom. Right behind that wall is a Murphy bed. It folds down. I slept here, and it set an alarm pretty much for, from 4:30 to 6:30. I slept, and I set an alarm, hopped back up, and in case I need to sell. And like I said, long story short, I stayed up all night again, had a feeling. So I stayed up to pre-market. Pre-market opened to hit 21 again. I sold at 21, made good money. I bounced out, went to bed. Then I was like so excited because I did well. I was like 3x, right? And I was leaping for joy at 4:30 in the morning, deciding if I wanted to have coffee, decide if I want to wake up and make breakfast. Should I sleep? I kind of have to go to work today, but I just made, I just made a good chunk of change. I don't think I want to work today. So all these things going through my head, and then I just crashed. I just literally rolled over out of my chair on the Murphy bed behind me, and took a little 2-hour snooze, and woke up, made the kids breakfast, and took them to school. So I'm glad my binge is over. I do not want any more, roller coaster rides like that. I'm more of a blue chip guy. So this was completely out of character for me. Like I said, unwilling, just kind of got into it before it took off. And so I guess I got lucky, right? And right place, right time. Scary. And I'd never want to do that again, but it was thrilling. I pretty much had heart attacks 3 times the other day. Anxiety, but hey, it's over, and I did well. So I'm happy.
See, I sent you the meme of Big Bird sitting at the CEO's table, and it was like, now AMC and GameStop are part of the Fortune 500 companies because of where they are right now.
It's crazy, man. It really is. Like, the volume on them was just complete madness. Like, I don't want to ever do that again. Even though I made a lot of money, I did really well. Don't get me wrong. Like, I literally was like, I can pay off my wife's car now, like, just from 2 days. Like, that's fantastic. But the stress behind watching those numbers, like, literally, like, I'm watching, like, and if these aren't small numbers, I was watching, like, numbers go from like 45,000 down to like 15,000 in a matter of minutes each way. And I'm just like,
I am not in control of this.
No control. It's like casinos, right? Better odds than a slot machine, but it literally was like, hey, know when to call it quits and get out of here. And that's what I had to keep reminding myself is, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna make sure that I'm happy with the number and I'm getting out and I'm not looking back.
I love, thank you for sharing that story. It's great to hear. I'm glad your wife's car is able to be paid off. Liz must be very happy.
Oh, yes,
yes. Awesome.
Crazy.
Look,
it really is.
In the week that we don't really have football, like, this happens, right?
It's like, I don't know if you saw my Twitter post. It was like, all right, I'm back to fantasy football now. It was like nothing but like stock talk for like 48 hours. I was like responding to, all the messages on the stock, posting all the.
My Twitter feed was getting blown up by stock information, and I'm like, look, I
actually had to mute the words today because I just got tired of looking at it, and I'm still popping up.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, probably people are misspelling it or something like that. That's one way to get around the muted words.
No, it would be like they would like I didn't like block stock. Like I blocked, like AMC and I blocked GME, and then but it's like different variations. It's so people would be like, the hedge funds or something, and or stock, and then all of a sudden, like inside the comments, it has
like whack-a-mole. It's like life finds a way to get in your feed.
I'm like, this is not going away. So it is what it is.
Well, Billy, I'm back into the fantasy football. It's not like we gave it up at all, but it's just not checking it as often. And with the games not happening and the news is slower, it just doesn't, like, the news doesn't matriculate. And there's not a lot of like forced narratives right now.
No, we're like 37 days out from free agency. You know, there's a lot of speculation right now. Nothing's
Right.
concrete. It's a lot
These are
of
the futures,
yeah,
right?
it's exactly. It's just a lot of, uncertainty right now and speculation what could happen. And yes, we can all dream it never plays out exactly how you think. So that's I think, a great thing for us to talk about tonight and I'm sure we'll get to that at some point is kind of the free talk in terms of the free agent predictions here.
Oh, for sure. Well, the free agents on Sleeper is what we're going to talk about next. We don't really have any notes. We're just free talking, but we did have at least like some bullet points of things we wanted to hit. And one of the things I wanted to hit on, I always find it interesting in the offseason, in the years that I've been on Sleeper, just the offseason waiver wire trending up. If anyone is familiar with the trending up of Sleeper, there's some wild names here.
Pull it up now, you're talking about it.
So Billy, I'll just quickly go through the number 10 trending player is Darrell Williams.
Oh God, get out of here.
Darrell Williams. I mean, Damian Williams isn't there. The CEH like hype has really died down, and he's played well in the playoffs.
Darrell Williams, number 11 on my screen now.
Oh, has it updated?
Nick Boyle is number 10.
Yeah, those must have switched. Yeah, well, Nick Boyle signed a 2-year extension today, so that's the news. Even though he has like a torn ACL or something.
Yeah, and he's Nick Boyle.
Yeah, I was like, could Nick after Hayden Hurst left last offseason? I was like, could Nick Boyle be a top 25 tight end? Could he be a back end tight end too in 2 tight end leagues? Nope.
Did you see this? Our like chat's getting spammed right now.
I did see that. I'm like, should we put it up? No, we should not.
No, not at all. No.
We will not indulge the spammers. Don't try to spam us. Anyway, so number 9, Isaiah McKenzie. I don't remember the contract of John Brown, but I know that Brown is in his 30s and Cole Beasley's in his 30s, and McKenzie's he had a touchdown at the end of the last game. So against the Chiefs, he had a really awesome week 17. So I think there's recency in those playoff performances.
Yeah. So John Brown is going to be unrestricted free agent 2022. He signed a 3-year extension in 2019, and he has. Let's see here. So dead cap hit of only 1.6. He might be definitely could be a potential cap hit casualty here. I haven't seen the Ravens cap expectancy here, but cap hit is $9.5 million. Dead cap's only 1.6. So
that's a possibility. So Isaiah McKenzie's very deep league speculative ad. Taylor Heineke with a potential void in Washington and how Heineke did play against the Buccaneers.
I added him in a 2-quarterback league.
Yeah, I think he's worth a speculative ad.
He played fantastic.
And he wasn't even just lucky. Like he looked like he was intentionally pushing the ball down the field. He was making pretty good throws, and for many young quarterbacks, it's about expressing that confidence right away and not being afraid to push the ball. And Heineke looked like a competent quarterback. So I think that he's worth a speculative ad. I think he's going to be in quarterback competition. I think he's an unrestricted free agent. So he could be added somewhere that's quarterback needy. And there's going to be a lot of quarterback holes to fill this offseason. So yeah, it might be, or maybe someone does really pony up, give us a Scott Tolzien, Matt Flynn contract out there. Former Packers, Tolzien and Flynn. Number 7, Scotty Miller.
It's because he thinks he's the fastest man in the NFL.
Well,
did you see those comments?
Yeah, I wouldn't put him up with Tyreek Hill. Sorry.
That's what he was comparing himself to, is that he said he was faster, and then Raheem Morris is like, nah, bro.
Nah, bro.
You're not faster.
Raheem Mostert is fast. He's
super fast. He's a track star.
Well, perhaps that performance, but also because we anticipate that Chris Godwin won't re-sign, especially given that
Potentially Antonio Brown
Antonio
as well.
Brown returns, right?
Yep.
And I doubt Antonio Brown will command a hefty contract. I doubt the Buccaneers are willing to pay him a hefty contract. They're already really tight on the cap. So I think that a Scotty Miller might be a smart play. Antonio Williams, I think, is just depth. I don't. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are both meh enough to not be benched, but also not meh enough to take the lead. And I think that is a position that Buffalo is going to address this offseason. But Antonio Williams is not the answer.
Absolutely not.
Number 5, Bryson Hopkins. Tight end for the LA Rams. It's Gerald Everett not being back. He's going to be he's an unrestricted free agent, I believe. Tyler Higbee signed to an extension, so it's going to be the Bryson Hopkins Tyler Higbee show in the 2 tight end sets for Scott McVay or Sean McVay.
Yeah, I don't have faith in Hopkins, but sure. Go ahead and add him. Number 6?
Number 5. That was Hopkins. Number 5.
Top 5. Holy cow.
Yeah. Darius Geis is number 4.
Okay, so that one is actually interesting. So he was actually all his charges were dropped.
Oh, really? That's the news.
That's why. So I added him in 2 leagues that I have like severely hurt at running back, and I don't really have a lot of top end picks, and so I added him as just a speculative ad. He probably going to have the Ray Rice approach here, and he probably may never play again. But you never know. A team may take a gamble on him, but with his injury history as well as the abuse, I don't think he's going to re-sign. But hey, speculative ad, 0 fab, why not? Right?
Yeah, definitely 0 fab. If there are players in your active bench who are on IR technically still, just stash them on the IR and see what happens. Like, these are just 0 stashes, and if he still doesn't materialize, worth nothing, and just drop him.
And for those of you who are new to Sleeper, they unlock for some reason the taxi squad. So if you have any rookies that you pulled off your taxi squad, you can actually drop them back on your taxi squad. It's a glitch in Sleeper, and they have not been able to fix it for 2 years.
Billy, don't give away our secrets. This is why we win championships. Okay, it's these little 1% moves that make all the difference. Okay, so that's number 4 is Darius Geis. Number 3, Foster Moreau.
Okay.
With Jason Witten officially retiring from the Las Vegas Raiders, although he is signing his 1-day contract with the Dallas Cowboys to retire a Cowboy. Moreau, I mean, we know how much Derek Carr loves his tight ends. We know that if it's not Darren Waller, it's not going to be another wide receiver. It's probably going to be Foster Moreau, who's not the centerpiece of the offense, but maybe it is. If Waller ever gets injured, John Gruden has said time and again that the offense runs through the tight end. So,
because they have Waller, I mean, it's not gonna. Morneau's not horrible, but he's not Darren Waller. He doesn't have the speed that he has, or the catch radius that he has, and so I think that they'd be in for a rude awakening if they lost Waller for any specified period of time, and they're forced to throw to Morneau. I think you'd see more of the receivers. You'd probably see more Ruggs. You'd see hopefully a Bryan Edwards sighting in the future.
Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
There we go.
You never know. He has his games.
He does. I do like Hunter Renfrow, but he's still just a high floor, very low ceiling type of player. Yep. Number 2, Andrew Luck. There's always off-season speculation. Andrew Luck is going to come out of retirement. He's going to fill a quarterback void. He's still talented.
2020, 2021. There's a lot.
31 years old. Tom Brady's 43?
Yeah, there's a lot of other things that could happen. And I mean, if you're in a double quarterback league or a super flex league and you 16 teamer or whatever it is, and you have big benches, why not? I mean, beginning of the next year, he's not playing great. Drop him.
Yeah. Number 1. And this is, I think, where we can transition into some quarterback talk. John Wolford out of LA is the hottest trending up player by about 3x over Andrew Luck. Actually, it's
I hope
closer.
so.
Actually, it's closer to 4x. 4x over Andrew Luck at number 2. Because there's been speculation now. Jeremy Fowler has reported that Matthew Stafford is open to a trade to the Los Angeles Rams. But I don't know what that has to do with Wolford. Like, honestly, he'd still be the backup to Stafford. Jared Goff, there's a lot of, and this is where we'll transition to the quarterback.
So I think this stems from, 2 days ago, they were talking about that there was going to be a quarterback competition this offseason between Wolford and Jared Goff, that McVay had not given the nod to Goff. And so that's where this rise in Wolford on Sleeper stems from, is that discussion, and then so just today they released Stafford news, but the last 2 days is where this is trending from, and it was that there was going to be a quarterback competition because they weren't sold on Goff,
which is ridiculous. Like, an aside, like, as good as John Wolford had played in the limited time that he did, you're really going to tell me that Jared Goff was bad enough to reintroduce a competition? Like, the reason why he's bad is because he was injured and there's still no offensive line. Like, putting John Wolford in there isn't going to fix the issue. Putting Matthew Stafford in there isn't going to fix the issue. Like, I know Goff isn't great under pressure, but there are very few quarterbacks that are. So unless Sean McVay sees Matthew Stafford as a level up and able to handle a bad offensive line, like the reason why they drafted Cam Akers was because he ran behind a bad offensive line at Florida State, and they knew that he could handle it. He still was a beast despite playing
bad.
Like, it was one of the worst offensive lines in all of college football. And
like, what? Rather than fixing our O-line, let's just draft people who are used to playing behind bad O-line.
Yes, that's exactly I'm thinking that Sean McVay had in drafting Cam Akers.
Like next level strats. Hey, let's not even waste picks on an O-line. Let's just draft people who are used to playing behind bad O-lines. Remember, that was my analogy when we were talking about Andy Dalton and how he could potentially do well in Dallas, was because he had already played behind bad O-lines his whole career in Cincinnati, and the fact that Dallas's O-line is injury riddled, that maybe he'll be used to it and he can put up some points.
Look, history tends to repeat itself. So, I mean, Cam Akers, he had a really rough start to the year, but he picked it up near the end. And I think that Akers is one of the hottest names to be watching, but maybe that's why you should go buy Darrell Henderson low.
I like Henderson. I like Henderson. He performed when he was given the opportunity here behind this O-line. And I don't know if you saw the whole Brad Evans and Kate thing on Twitter, where she called him out on his BS stat. And that's right, Brad, if you're listening, it was a BS stat. You didn't even spend the time to research it because you were wrong. And she did.
But Kate got it right. And
she got it right.
I was really
looked it up. Yeah, it was the process was there, and she went through and proved that, hey, no, you're wrong, and here's the numbers you told me to look up. And Darrell Henderson was actually better in almost every category.
Don't you hate it when numbers betray you?
Yeah. So I don't know why they strayed away from Darrell Henderson. He had some monster games, and then they just stopped giving him the ball, and he wasn't hurt or anything. He got hurt later on, yes, but leading up to that, he was healthy, and they just kind of strayed away from him. But he was averaging like 5 yards a carry for quite a bit. And I don't know. The Rams just, they're always so finicky at running back and what they decide to do. And that's why I'm not trusting Akers going in 21. I'm going to say it right now. As I know he's going to be a hot commodity. I know he's going to be, probably around two talent for a lot of people, especially in like best ball. People are taking him on the turn in best ball right now, by the way, and we'll get to the best ball, but no, thank you. I mean, as great as he was, like, who knows? It could be Akers one week, could be Darrell Henderson the next.
That's his ceiling. Like, they're buying him at his ceiling.
They are.
And there's an extreme amount of risk taking a running back like that with the questions that arise. It's been however many years in a row that the Rams have been cycling through running backs, haven't given a full trust to Todd Gurley since 2017, really. Like, I mean, Sean McVay, even this past offseason, said there was going to be a four-headed monster.
So stupid.
Malcolm Brown, Cam Akers, Daryl Henderson, and do you remember the fourth?
Yeah, they cut him. I forget his name.
John Kelly.
Thank you, John Kelly. Yep. I told you. Remember, I told you like whatever McVay says, I do the opposite. Like the dude just doesn't even like. He's never transparent.
That's why I don't believe the quarterback competition. I'm more willing to believe the Stafford trade, except I don't know what else the Rams can trade. Like the Rams have a good defense, but
Goff
there
and a
aren't.
pick. It'd be Goff and a pick probably plus a
What
player.
pick they like in 2022?
Yeah, 20. It'd probably be a 2021, 2022 pick, or maybe a
They don't have
combination
a
of the
2021 first.
two.
So
Yeah, it would have to be. It'd have to be another player, honestly.
yeah, and that's why I'm skeptical of the Rams. It could happen. Teams figure out if there's a will, there's a way. And if the Rams really want him, and the Lions and Matthew Stafford really wants to go there, they're gonna find a way. But on paper,
I'm holding out hope that my Niners get him.
I know you are. I know you are. Look, we got to talk about. We'll talk about We mentioned Stafford, but we have to talk about Deshaun Watson because of the press conference today in particular. The head coach and GM both came out for the Houston Texans and said, "Nope, Deshaun Watson is our guy. He is not going anywhere. We have no interest in trading this player," I think is the exact quote. On a what percentage do you think that they're telling the truth, that they have zero interest in trading Deshaun Watson?
87.7%.
Wow, that's pretty precise.
But
I applaud you for your precision, by the way.
But Deshaun Watson has a 100% that he does not want to play for them either. So there comes a point at which point are you willing to sacrifice morale and locker room presence for a player that you want to keep on your field? Because if he's unhappy, how many more players is he going to make unhappy around him?
And isn't he fined like $9,000 a day or something for missing each day of minicamp?
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head without looking it up, but even if he had a massive contract, right? And I think that he can afford if he really wanted to, right? He can also say he's just not going to play and start sitting out games. And yes, he's going to lose a lot of money, but at what point do they say, okay, we can't do this?
At what point do the Houston Texans have to cut their losses? Yep. And that's why I believe they say that. I don't believe it happens. I think there's a 0% chance that in 365 days, Deshaun Watson is still on the Houston Texans.
I would agree. I think that this marriage is broken, right? And the Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans are definitely going to be separating here. And it's just a matter of when, not if. I fully believe they don't want to trade him, but I also fully believe that he doesn't want to play for them. So at what point I think that Deshaun Watson's will and him just refusing to suit up is going to overpower their will to want to keep him.
Well, and they need to start thinking fast because the draft is coming up and there's limited exposure to these rookies.
Oh, they could have used a first round, but wait, they don't have.
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil is hanging out, being the worst left tackle in the NFL right now. Oops. What a whiff.
They had some bad trades.
Man.
Reminds me of like my 2012 trades I made.
Oof. Man, oh man. So let's talk a little bit about a couple free agents that we're at least watching where they're going. One of them that I just want to throw out there, Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he would be a good fit on Miami, but there's also been a lot of speculative talk about Devonta Smith being drafted in the first round and reuniting Tua with Smith from Alabama.
I could see that happening.
And there's been, Devonta Smith was even asked about it. And he said that he's talked with Tua and they would love to run it back together. So it depends. I think that with these young quarterbacks, they do need wide receivers. And that's why if the Miami Dolphins don't draft Devonta Smith, they're going to have to sign either a Kenny Golladay or a Juju Smith-Schuster, like a big-time wide receiver that's going to help level up. We saw that happen with Josh Allen We saw that happen with Kyler Murray this past year. These two instances where these veteran wide receivers who are excellent players, the teams acquired wide receivers to level up their quarterbacks, and I think that that's very much on the minds and hearts of the Miami front office, finding a receiving core that can help elevate Tua. He's the quarterback of the future. I don't think Devontae Parker can do it. I don't think Preston Williams is in a position yet to be that type of difference maker. So I think that wide receiver is going to be a
why not both? I think we could see both here. Why not go after a number one free agent signing here and take Smith in the draft? Yeah. You're setting your young quarterback up for success. You're reuniting him with one of his college flings, right? Or I don't know.
Room.
Yeah, his locker
room buddies, right?
So you're reuniting, two players that excelled well in college together as well, back onto the NFL, and you're setting your young quarterback up for success. So personally, if I'm the GM here, I draft Smith just for that, that reason alone, to reunite the quarterback and receiver. You cannot buy chemistry. In this scenario, you can draft it, right? But I think, why not go out? Because it's going to take time for him to develop, time for him to learn the NFL, get to speed the NFL. There's no combine this year. Who knows what there's going to be in terms of preseason yet? So there's all these factors that are really going to hinder a growth of a rookie player that we talked about in this offseason in 2020. And look what happened. We saw it with a majority of players, with the exception of CeeDee Lamb. And it's going to take time for these players to develop. So I think, why not go out and get – I saw a question, 1 second. Why not go out and get Smith, and then also grab someone like Juju, someone like Kenny Golladay, and really take that pressure off of him? Okay, so we have a question here. Billy Music, can you talk about how great Travis Kelce is compared to George Kittle? It's pretty obvious George Kittle isn't that good. Well, you're a Dolphins fan, John, so I think that it's pretty clearly obvious here that you are just, trying to drag down the rest of the world with your Dolphins here. But I fully admit here, let me pull this question back up so people can see. I fully admit here that Travis Kelce is better than George Kittle. And as much as I love George Kittle and his energy and what he's done, he's been proven to be injury prone as well. And it's because he plays 100%. So I really do think that Travis Kelce is a better player right now. Dynasty, though, I'm probably taking Kittle for the long term.
Okay. I talked about this on the pod earlier this week. Kittle or Waller?
I'm still taking Kittle. And it's not just because of all the red and gold behind me. It's
Are you sure you aren't wearing the glasses there, Billy?
Yeah. I just think that this offense has been funneled through Kittle. And yes, we have some, Ayuk has emerged and Debo has played well when he's been there. And this offense has been pretty electric when everyone's been on the field, but Kittle has always received his share. You're looking at 18-20% target share on a kind of a minimum basis. So this question brings back to, remember I said I made all those bad trades here. So this is a buddy of mine. Would you trade David Johnson for Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb? Right now, absolutely not. But when they were both, and you left off part of the trade, by the way, there was a round one in there. So
you traded Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, and a first for David Johnson?
No. The first came my way. It was
what
David
did that
Johnson.
end up becoming? Do you remember?
And this was like David Johnson when David Johnson was good. It wasn't today David Johnson. And it was.
Hey, no, that's blasphemy. That's blasphemous. I'm going to push back on that because David Johnson had the highest yards per carry of his career this season for the Texans with the Texans' bad offensive line. Yeah, but I mean, look, he was a superstar for that one season for Arizona, but this year he actually played.
And that's the year it was. It was the superstar season, David Johnson, and I think it was Nick Chubb's rookie year. And I said, hey, I'm going to bank here that he doesn't repeat, and I was completely wrong. But I did get a round one. I don't remember what that round one turned out to be. This is what now? 3 years ago? And so I don't remember
what I ate for dinner yesterday.
exactly. All I remember is I stayed up for 48 hours the last 2 days and binge watched AMC stock. I don't remember anything else outside of that. I do remember though that you left off a round one pick here though, Rich. Thanks for the comment. We appreciate it. We have one more comment here. Jaceki over Kittle? Absolutely not. You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy if you think that.
It's got to be Kittle here. I mean, look, especially because we just talked about how Miami, like, there's such a need there. And as much as we love Mike Gesicki, he's been a top 10 PPR fantasy tight end these last 2 years. I don't see him really bursting much more than that.
So he had a really great run down towards the end. So week 12 through week 17, and he was out week 15 versus New England. But during those final 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games here, he had 5 targets, 11 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets, and 10 targets. He averaged about 60 yards a game, and he had 4 touchdowns during that span. So I think he had a great run, but let's face it.
Preston Williams was out.
Yep.
Devonta Parker was really struggling with injury.
Playing running back roulette.
Was out. Jakeem Grant was hurt. Like, I just named. They were playing Kirk Merritt and Malcolm Perry. Okay.
Yep.
Like those are
the way I started in DFS for a dark.
Those are some ant deep cuts right there.
Diamonds. Gems. That's what it is.
Gems. I love it. Okay. Yeah. So at any rate, so that's why I'm not buying Gesicki. I think he is a top 10 PPR tight end. I think he'll continue to be that, even with an addition of a top tier wide receiver. But I don't think there's going to be much more of a level up there.
No, I think the end of the season is above his cap on a weekly basis for 2021 because he was the default, option. He was A, he was B, he was even the C option in the passing game because there's nobody else there. So I think that you're not going to see that type of volume ever again in 2021, especially if they go out and get somebody like a Kenny Golladay or a Juju Smith-Schuster and then draft somebody like a Smith here. So I think long gone are the 10 target days of Gesicki in 2021.
All right. I know we did mention Deshaun Watson being unhappy and he won't be back with the Texans. Like, that's our anticipation. But Billy, where's aside from the 49ers, I don't want to hear it because you would just love anybody with a pulse other than Jimmy Garoppolo to take over the quarterback reins.
Yeah, we can send him back to the Patriots. Get out of here.
Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, anybody, just
anybody but Jimmy G. That's what I'm saying.
So, but realistically, if you were placing bets on where Deshaun Watson would go, where do you think he lands?
New York, New England, I'd say are my top 2.
I think New England would be a real savvy place. They don't need Cam Newton.
No,
they don't. They've already seen Deshaun Watson perform without an all-star wide receiver. Like Will Fuller isn't that. Brandon Cooks is like a tier 2 wide receiver. There's not wide receiver core on there. The defense is okay, better than what Deshaun Watson had in Houston. And New England has a first-round pick to trade.
And it's not a back-end one like it has been for years.
Yeah. So I could see that.
And they have cap space.
They do have cap space. There were some people clamoring for the Browns to trade Baker Mayfield. And I'm like, stop it. Baker just no, stop.
So I think the leading favorites right now are the Jets, but I don't see that happening. I could see
because it's the Jets.
Yeah, it's the Jets, but they have a lot of money. They have a top draft pick
and Salah.
But honestly, I think a dark horse here is the Giants. And they're set up more for success for the future. They're going to be not win now, but they have they have a better chance at next year than the Jets do, is what I'm trying to say here. Mm-hmm. And I think that, what did Daniel Dimes really do to prove himself this year? I don't think he did enough to prove himself. He took a step backwards, in my opinion.
He did.
And so, but hey, you know what? He's still shown flashes of talent. They still have they still have an early round 1 draft pick. So could they throw Daniel Jones and a pick plus to Houston for Watson. Speculation, but hey, if I had to bet, it's one of the New Yorks or New England if it happens. It's a matter of if it does or not.
Yeah, I think Daniel Jones, the confidence got really hit, and for young players, like confidence plays a big part in it. And when you faced, I think he faced like 5 really tough defenses to start. Yeah, and losing Barkley week 2, like they faced, they faced week 1 Pittsburgh, where Barkley had what, like 16 rushes for 9 yards or something ridiculous like that, like. And then you're forcing Daniel Jones to throw. The offensive line was
Tampa, though, who had the best run defense in the NFL, and they held. They were less than 1,000 rushing yards for 16 games, which is pretty beastly. That's
okay. So here are the first 6 opponents that Daniel Jones faced: Pittsburgh Steelers, stud defense; Chicago Bears. They're still not a bad defense. They're a good defense. That's the reason why they were in playoff contention in spite of their quarterback play. San Francisco 49ers, this is still week 3, 49ers defense. The LA Rams, week 4.
It's a tough lineup here.
Week 5, they got Dallas. They got Dallas, which was a cakewalk. But then they got the Washington football team week 6. So 5 of the first 6 are the most difficult defenses in the NFL. I mean,
maybe it broke him down mentality-wise, and he just lost faith in himself. And you know how the NFL, it's like golf. Like you lose confidence in yourself, and it's impossible to recover.
When you're handing the ball off to Wayne Gallman, expecting him to only get 3 or 4 yards, like Gallman was useful, but he wasn't Saquon Barkley, and Evan Ingram dropping passes on him like it was his job.
And so we have, in speaking of Barkley here, we have a question here from Josh off of Periscope on Twitter. What would Watson do for Barkley? For Barkley stick?
What would Watson do? Oh man, I think we would get back to rookie year Saquon Barkley.
I think so too. We're talking about if he can stay healthy, and that's the question now. Is he injury prone? We had 2 years here where he hasn't been able to finish out a season because of some big injuries, and if he's able to stay healthy, and they got Deshaun Watson, speculation for anyone just joining us, it's massive. I mean, I think we're talking about potential of 2,000 yards for Barkley if they got Deshaun Watson.
I mean, we saw how Deshaun Watson and David Johnson worked really well. Like Johnson was having a career year had he not gotten injured himself.
And it's because defenses are kept honest. They can't load the box. Watson can also run. And, they're going to have to spy the quarterback. They're going to have to respect the pass, and it really opens up lanes on the ground. And I think if that happens, I mean, I would love to see it. And I don't even like the Giants. I mean, I don't really like that in the whole division really, but I think that it would do wonders for that team. And it would be nice to see him, play somewhere else he wants to play it. Cause clearly he doesn't want to play in Houston.
Billy, yesterday you sent me a screenshot of the first best ball team that you drafted. And you were so excited about it, but you didn't put the names on. You just wanted me to tell you which teams you felt were, you wanted me to give like a blind resume opinion of some of the teams.
There's a reason for that. So FFPC etiquette is if you are posting a draft, you don't post names, because when you get into a league and you see somebody with the same names that you've seen a draft board of, you could technically snipe them or pick them off. So etiquette for FFPC is if you post a draft board, don't post names at the top.
Good to know.
That being said, it does allow for you to kind of, question, or should I say, pose the question of which team is the best. So let me pull up the draft board here. I can do a split screen for everyone because now we're almost done with round 9. So I'm going to share my screen. And draft board. Here we go. Can you see it?
I will be able to in just a second. Okay. It's up.
It's up. Okay. So round 1 here. this will actually show the name. So sorry, I'm not following etiquette here, but we're not posting them through all of Twitter as much. I guess it's live, so never mind. So Christian, I got
violations. I'll
violation.
report you to the FFPC board for failure to comply with etiquette.
So so how this works is they randomize the draft and you get notification of where you're drafting, and then the draft starts, a couple hours later. So I was notified I was pick 1. Great. Christian McCaffrey. Don't let me down 2 years in a row. See those little asterisks next to Josh Jacobs and J.K. Dobbins there?
Yep.
Yeah, that was my AMC stock binge that night, and I didn't realize I was on the clock. And I luckily set my queue, and
which is a smart thing to do.
It is a smart thing to do.
Out there, make sure you're setting your queues if there's drafts happening.
So when I was going through the stocks that night, the top of my board right there was Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and then in order went Josh Jacobs and Dobbins, and then I had AJ Brown next. So reason for that is because I have seen other best ball drafts right now, and I have seen the rate at which running backs have been going, and 90% of, maybe not 90%, but the majority of rounds 1, 2, and 3 are green for the running back position. So I did not want to wait on a running back and have to rely on somebody like a Gaskin or Fournette in round 9 or 10. So I set those above AJ Brown, figuring I can find value later in the draft. And it's best ball. It automatically starts players here for you. For those of you who are not familiar with best ball automatically takes your highest scoring players at every single position and automatically plugs them into your roster. You draft it, you forget it, and you look back at the end of the year or weekly if you choose to, but you do not have to do any roster managements. There's no waivers. There's no
you get what you draft.
You get what you draft. And I would consider myself a pretty good drafter. So I don't normally like to take
the auto drafter. You should rename your team the auto drafter.
I should. So I normally don't like to take quarterbacks
this troll early. Everyone, you're gonna be like,
I normally don't like to take quarterbacks this early. I'm usually like a round 9-10 quarterback guy. But with best ball, usually people take 3 quarterbacks because quarterbacks get hurt. There's no waivers, etc. So quarterbacks go a little bit earlier in best ball as well. And as you can see, there was a run there in round 6, and even towards the back side of round 5. And so I wasn't going to be willing to wait a whole nother round to potentially lose out on someone like Stafford or even Matt Ryan and have to rely on someone like Trevor Lawrence or Baker Mayfield as my quarterback 1. So I took Stafford in round 7. It was a little earlier than I wanted to, but kind of forced to by the way the board fell and where people were going. And you notice tight ends are here early as well. In the FFPC, it's tight end premium, so 1.5 points for tight ends here. So I went with Noah Fant. And you know me, I love Noah Fant.
You wouldn't.
I actually thought about
anything from my Broncos hate and Billy. Or are you banking on them getting a new quarterback?
No, I'm just banking on Noah Fant being the number 2 option, probably behind Courtland Sutton here this year, if not the number 1 some weeks. So I just think his usage was there, his red zone presence was there. I almost double tapped Fant and Gesicki, honestly, but it took me a minute to really decide that I had to go quarterback here. And when I started seeing all the potential Stafford to Niners, it was a little bit of red and gold inside, a little bit of biased opinion or biased drafting here, with the hope that maybe he does come to the Niners or somewhere where he's going to really, excel. So, so that's the board here. We're through almost 9 rounds. I'm liking the way my team's coming out, really, honestly. I mean, see what happens here on the way back, but I'm probably going to go balanced approach and go running back, wide receiver, because you can always find value at receiver later. And especially in best ball, there's a lot of late round targets that I'm extremely happy with this year. Coming up, someone like Mooney,
given like the early picks of quarterback and given as tight end premium, seeing that, I'm looking at yours and. I like Stafford and I like Matt Ryan. And I think those are safe floor quarterbacks.
Yep, I have ceilings too.
Yep. Well, we'll see what type of offense Matthew Stafford gets traded into. I know you're hopeful for the Niners, but we'll have to keep an eye out for that. I do like your top 3 running backs. Those look really good. T. Higgins, as long as Joe Burrow gets back starting week 1, like I think we're in good shape.
But even if he doesn't, so my thought process here, because I Chris Godwin was, of course, on my board. He went right before me. But T. Higgins here, and the reason behind this is AJ Green's, I'm all but certain he's gone.
Yep.
So, and look at the targets he had. He's getting like 10 targets some weeks. So that's a lot of targets to be spread around between Higgins.
Oh, Alex Erickson is getting his share.
Yeah, sure. But I definitely, that's a lot of targets to go around. This was the most pass heavy offense in the NFL prior to Burrow getting hurt.
Yep.
And even if he's not back, they're going to be playing from behind every single game. And I just think that they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, regardless if he's back week 1 or not. And T. Higgins is a big wide receiver. I think that he's going to be putting up some serious numbers. And in best ball, I think he's a fantastic pick at 4.12.
I like T. Higgins there. I agree with you, Chris Godwin. That would have been a nice pickup. But Kenny Galladay double tapped there.
That's value considering that people are drafting here because they were burned, right?
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb ahead of Kenny Galladay. Like,
I was a little surprised, but you got to think quarterback uncertainty. Does he stay in Detroit? Who's his quarterback? And there's a lot of question marks, but you know what? This is best ball. I'm willing to take chances here. And I don't have to pick and choose who I'm starting every week. I can literally just, like you said, draft it, forget it, and hope for the best. And maybe he does have, a pretty crappy quarterback this year. Who knows? But at the end of the day, like, he's going to be the number 1 receiver on this team.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals go out and sign what's a Case Keenum equivalent? Like a competent backup quarterback who has been a starter for a while, but maybe an Andy Dalton type, like someone like that who would be able to
magic.
Yeah, maybe if the Bengals,
he's so good for Galladay.
Oh God,
he's such a gunslinger.
Well, the Lions, I don't know if they'll re-sign Galladay.
You just gave me an idea to take Fitz late in this draft.
I think he's a great, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is a great last round pick in these types of drafts.
Well, that's why if you notice the Hayden Hurst, Matt Ryan 8 and 9 turn, I said, you know what, I'm gonna stack it here. I'm gonna go for the stack and hope for the best and see if it works out. And like I said, it's best ball. I mean, there's not a lot of risk here. I mean, you're just able to just draft it and forget it.
Yeah.
So now that you know the names at the top, I know you've told me you liked my team, but if you had to pick your top 3 here, who are they?
See, I immediately looked at the number 4 team here: Jonathan Taylor, Calvin Ridley, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Kyler Murray, Ryan Tannehill, Mike Gesicki, Laviska Shenault, Leonard Fournette. I know that Fournette's his running back 2 here, but this is a perfect zero RB hybrid build, modified zero RB. You have to take your Taylor, but then you just go Ridley, who's going to be a top 5 wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, who's going to be top 10, Mike Evans, who's going to be top 10, Kyler Murray, who was the quarterback 1 this year, Ryan Tannehill's guaranteed top 10. In a 12-team league, you've got 2 quarterback 1s, you've got 3 wide receiver 1s, you've got a running back 1, you've got a tight end 1 in Gesicki, and you've got a high upside pick in Laviska Shenault. And I don't know where Leonard Fournette is going to be next year, but he's played very well for the Buccaneers during the playoffs. So hopefully that gets him signed somewhere where he can continue. I don't need him to get 20 carries, but if he can get 13 a game.
So the only thing, and you don't know here, is you have to start 2 running backs.
Yeah.
And so that's I agree. His team is fantastic.
So that's, I think, the only big hole is he's going to have to draft other running backs late.
You're gonna have to hit, because if one gets injured, if Jonathan Taylor gets injured, he is effed.
Yep.
Hardcore. And if you're reliant on Leonard Fournette as your running back 1 in 2021, yikes. That's going to be tough. So I liked his team. I also really liked the start of 7 too. It's got a lot of high upside. If Akers does continue what he did, Barkley comes back healthy.
7 looks like a dream dynasty team.
It really does. I think that's why I like it, because we play so much dynasty too. But
yep,
there's a few teams on here I really like. And I was looking at 12. if 12 hits, if Ezekiel Elliott and Dak get back,
Oh
that's
my gosh. Dak
you.
in round 6. Did people forget about him? Like
Yeah. He was the quarterback
AJ
on my board.
Dillon over Dak Prescott? Like
I almost took Dak there at 6 where I took Fant, but I said no, I don't want to take a quarterback this early, and I'm going to wait. And then all those quarterbacks went, and I was like, have to.
yeah.
So, but Zeke at 12 and Nick Chubb there on the turn.
That's a nice
turn. And
depending on where Allen Robinson goes, like we've talked about big name wide receivers, where's Allen Robinson go? He can't get any worse quarterback situation than the Chicago Bears, right?
Yeah, now so he has David Montgomery, who had a career year. I don't think he's going to do as well as he did this year next year with Cohen coming back. We did tweet about that, but I think that he's got Fuller there, which is a perfect best ball player. Tyler Lockett's a perfect best ball player. Allen Robinson's a model of consistency. So Team 12, I think, is really, really strong here as well. All right. Well, let me turn off the screen share. What else we got tonight? Is that it?
I think that brings us to the end here, Billy. This has been like we were just going to free talk, just fill the time. And look, this might be one of the longest pods we've had.
Actually, I enjoyed it.
Good time. We enjoy talking fantasy football, talking speculation, and looking at
6 minutes without an outline.
Without an outline. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but neither here nor there. Yeah, so we will probably do another podcast earlier next week. Maybe it's just going to be me. Maybe it'll be Billy too. We'll see. I still need to do my wide receiver and tight end recap for my projections. I'm working on those. And then we have a podcast on Friday night, a week from today, Billy.
Biggie.
It is a biggie. We're really stoked about it. So we've been building up for a couple weeks now, and we're getting the outline ready. We're getting a formal outline ready. Like we are bringing in all the bells and whistles. So
I'm actually going to be working on the outline this weekend. My hope is to get it to him by Monday, so he's got the week to look at it.
Send it to who again?
Bob Harris from Sirius XM Radio, Football Diehards. So that's right, everybody. Bob Harris from Sirius XM Radio will be joining us next Friday for our live show, February 5th, for our Super Bowl weekend podcast at 5 p.m.
Oh, it's the Super Bowl, Billy.
Super Bowl. Cannot wait.
What a better way to celebrate it than with Bob Harris.
That's what I kept saying. It's the ultimate game. It really is. The ultimate game of the year. And he's one of the most ultimate podcasters in my mind. Someone I've looked up to in podcasting and I've really enjoyed watching over the years on Sirius XM, or watching, I guess, listening to on Sirius XM Radio. So thank you for listening and watching our show, our impromptu show.
Wait. So Billy, what you're telling me is I need to be on my best behavior next Friday.
Yeah.
I need to wear a shirt.
Maybe shave. You can bring back the babyface assassin, not the Puerto Rican teenager. And
but this is so nice. It keeps me warm. It's like 12 degrees, as I said, in Michigan. I need something to keep my face warm.
Put a little milk on that and have a cat lick it off.
No cats. I'm allergic to cats, Billy.
Are you really?
I am. And like I get all puffy. There was even like, so I was, I don't care. This is a long podcast. Time for a story. So my now wife, we were dating, and she had lived in an apartment with one of her roommates, and they had like 3 cats. So I came over and I forgot to take my allergy medication. I started like breaking out, and we had been drinking and having a good time and just talking and all that. And then I just started to itch everywhere. Like my head and my face eyes just started to get puffing up. I had to walk out of the apartment, and we had to go get allergy medication. But I had been drinking a good amount, and mixing alcohol with allergy medication is not the right combination. So after I'd taken it, we got back to the apartment. I didn't even know I was just talking. I was like, I'm here. I'm going to tell you about, I don't know. It's just, and so Liz was like, Bradley, like, I think you need to go, like, just rest. How about you go rest over there? And I was like, okay. So I did. And so from that point on, no mixing the alcohol and the allergy medication.
I'm surprised you guys got married.
Yeah, there's no cats in this house, I'll tell you what. So even though my daughters are like, oh, we love kitties, we have our stuffed kitties and everything. No cats. Actually, I take that back. I love cats. They taste like chicken.
In your Szechuan chicken from the corner restaurant.
I refuse to comment.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at FFFanalists, at FFMusio. I had to change it, everybody, because the underscore on the formatting on the website was a nightmare. So now it is at FFMusio.
Why not at Musio?
Okay, don't get me started on at Musio.
Your turn to tell a story.
We're wrapping it up here, but so I went to take at Musio, which I thought was a slam dunk on Twitter, even though there's billions of people, and it was taken. So what do? I look it up. It's like this 70-year-old lady with 2 followers following one person. And so what do I immediately do? How to take a tag from somebody. And there used to be a lot more ways than there is nowadays. So I was joking around. I messaged Bradley. I said, I'm going to report her for harassment and see if she gets banned and take her tag. And
poor 70-year-old woman gets like a request of like, you've been harassing people on Twitter. We won't block you.
So nonetheless, I did not get my at Musio tag. So even though all my FFPC names are Musio, everywhere on Sleeper is Musio, I should trademark it is what I should do. And then I should copyright infringe and tag it and take it. But maybe I'm onto something here.
There's an idea right there. Boom.
Because that is, they say one of the most powerful ways to take a tag is for copyright. But I think I'm not just messaging her and asking her if it's okay if she were to give me the tag and she can change her name and then I can take the tag. That's my hopes. But you can't message them if they don't follow you.
Report them for harassment. Well, that kind of bit me in the butt.
You can't message them if you report them, and you also can't message them if they don't follow you. So I have to just add her, but it looks like her last
3 followers. You'll have half-xed her followers.
It also looks like she hasn't logged on forever. So I think my best bet is to just wait for her account to go inactive, look it up every week and wait for it. But nonetheless, I am not at Musio. I'm at FF Musio, which kind of fits the theme here and the branding. Thank you. Of at FF Fanalist, at FF Stalder, at FF Musio. It all fits together. So make sure to follow us on Twitter at FF Fanalists, at FF Musio, at FF Stalder, or on Facebook at Fantasy Football Fanalists. Please subscribe to our Twitch and YouTube channels at FF Fanalists, or just simply go to our website, find every social button I just mentioned at fffanalists.com, where you can find articles, rankings, DFS content, and more. We got a new article up just recently. We got another one we're going to be posting here in the next couple days. Rankings we're hoping to have up here in the next probably 5, 6, 7 days at the most.
That's Billy passive aggressively telling me I need to get my rankings together.
Yeah, I need the formatting done, and and then we can throw our rankings on there once Bradley gets his job done. So we will see you all back here next Friday live with Bob Harris from Sirius XM Radio. Good luck, everybody. Good night in your DFS lineups come next week for Super Bowl, and enjoy the madness on the stock market. That is it. Have a good night.